Hey guys, Sandy here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to scrapbook this selfie of Lanah and I. It is for her Disney birthday album. And I'm also using the Inspiration March 2021 Inspiration Box stamp set from Brutus Monroe. It's got these gorgeous florals, a mason jar, some really sweet sentiments. Thank you for being so kind, missing your smile, thinking of you with deepest sympathy, and thank you. Now I've also pulled out some Velveteen Glazes in pinks, blues, and purples, and my Raven Detail ink pad. I've got an idea, so let's see what I can do. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is grab a sheet of white cardstock and my mixed media mat. And this mat has seen better days, you guys. I probably should order a new one because I've worn holes in it. I've torn this bad boy apart. I've definitely got my money's worth out of it. I'm just using a plastic palette knife to dip into my Velveteen Glaze and then go from one edge of the paper to the other. And I'm kind of going in rainbow order, but not, it's not a true rainbow, but I am going in rainbow order. So I don't mind, and I actually want the Velveteen Glazes to kind of mix a little bit on top of the paper. And while I'm doing this, I'm discovering that I really like this as a background. I almost left this as a background and just stamped my florals in black and white and placed it on top of it. But I decided to go with my original idea, which was put the color on the paper and then stamp on top of that. So I'm just pulling each of these colors. I'm wiping off my palette knife before I get to the next color, but I'm not too terribly cleaning it off, just because I'm mixing it on the page, and I don't know, you guys. Like, I know that some people are super careful. They wash their palette knife off completely before they go into their next color. But I just kind of wipe it off haphazardly and then go to it. So this is what I meant, where it's kind of rainbow order, but not, because, you know, I go into the pinks and then the purpley pinks and then the purple and then the blues. So it's kind of rainbow, but not. That's what we're going with. So I'm just going to keep on doing this, and this is where I'm like, oh man, I should leave it like this. I should just leave the background like this because I think that this is gorgeous. And I don't. I stick with the plan, but I am definitely going to be doing this again and creating a layout with this kind of stripy Velveteen Glaze effect. Now, you've probably heard me say it before, but if you've never played with Velveteen Glaze, you really got to get your hands on some. It is a matte finish glaze, and it feels like hard flock. To me, that's what it feels like, hard flock. And people say, what in the world are you talking about? But once you touch it and once you feel it, once it's dry, everybody's like, yep, you're exactly right. It feels like hard flock. Now at this point, I'm trying to figure out if I want to do my greens on the same paper or if I want to change it up. And of course, I decide to change it up. Now I do 3 different colors of greens on the cardstock as well, and then I go ahead and let that dry. Now I did use one chroma glaze with the greens, and I also used one chroma glaze with this one, which is a shiny, it has a shinier dried texture to it. So I'm using my Misty to go ahead and stamp down onto the colorful background that I've created here. I am using the Brutus Monroe Raven Detail ink. It is the best black ink ever. It is my favorite ink for black stamping. And just look at that. It's stamped so beautifully. Now I went through and just stamped every single flower like that, and then I stamped the leaves on the green as well. I didn't figure you guys wanted to just watch me repeatedly stamp like that. And then I fussy cut all of those bad boys out. Another thing I didn't make you guys watch. So I'm on a sheet of white 12 by 12 cardstock, and I'm just kind of getting my flowers around. And I know that these are not really natural colors of the flowers, and I'm okay with that. It's not bothering me whatsoever. My plan is to build a cluster down here in the bottom corner, and some of them I'm going to pop up on some foam squares, and some of them are just going to be adhered straight down to the cardstock. Before I get too far, I make sure to get my photo down, and this is a photo of Lanah and I in Disneyland at her birthday weekend. This was before the pandemic shut everything down. So this was in 2019, and I've decided to kind of do the same rainbow kind of look that I had going on the paper with the flowers. So I'm making sure that this purple and dark blue are kind of in a line, and then I realize, oh, the light blue is under that. So I need to change that up a little bit, and I scoot those up and then start tucking in the lighter blue flowers. Now I'm going to leave this process in. I'm not going to like fast forward it even more than it already is or cut it short, just because I want you to be able to see like my thought process through it all. And I'm just trying to figure out where I want this stuff to go, and if I want little pieces that are kind of, you know, away from the big cluster. I'm just not exactly sure which direction I'm going with this yet. I do know that I want to build this as a big, huge, almost photo mat. So I'm just making sure that everything matches quite well. And I'm making sure that I'm going to tuck things underneath of the photo and also overlap it on top of it. I want that photo to really just feel like it's nestled in this big, beautiful, colorful, I don't know, burst of flowers. So I am going to overlap over the edge of the page, and doing this, I kind of wonder what it would have been like if I didn't take the florals all the way to the edge of the page and I had white all the way around. You know, when you're creating and you've got something set in your head and that's the way it needs to be, sometimes you just go that way. And I wasn't really open to changing my mind or my things around. But I do trim off those little bits of florals that are hanging off the edge of the cardstock. Now this is where I decide to tuck in the leaves, and I'm just kind of tucking them in randomly. I don't have any kind of rhyme or reason. I'm just grabbing a leaf that I think will look good and tucking it in. There are lighter leaves and darker leaves, so I am trying to get a good mix of both of them, because I don't want just the dark leaves and I don't want just the light leaves. I want it to be a good mix. And then I figure, you know, if this was just a big bouquet of flowers, there would be greenery throughout the entire thing anyway. So I'm trying to make it look natural in some really unnatural colored flowers, which might seem a little bit weird, but in my mind, it's working. So I know that I'm leaving a lot of white space on this layout, and that's something that I do occasionally. Like, I don't feel like you have to fill every single bit of space on your layout. Sometimes you need some breathing room. Sometimes you need some breathing room on an individual layout, and sometimes you need breathing room when your layouts are actually in your albums. So this, like I said, is going in the Disney Trip album. So a lot of these layouts are the more is more philosophy. So this is going to give a nice little break for your eye as you're flipping through the albums. I decided though that it needed a little bit of something around the edge, and I wasn't sure if I was going to mat it on some black cardstock or do this kind of stripy doodly border. I decided to go with the stripy doodly border. Now the only thing left is a little bit of a title, and I pull out these black letter stickers from my stash. They've got a little bit of curly Q to them, and I think that that is super cute. So I'm going to just simply title this Lanah and Me, because, you know, it is Lanah and me. So I go ahead and get that down, and then I'm like, where is that ampersand going to go? So I do scoot over the me a little bit so that kind of fills in that white gap of space a little bit better as well. And then I put that ampersand in just a little tiny bit crooked, and that's going to help cover up any kind of crookedness on the letter. So if they aren't exactly straight, with that ampersand at a tiny little angle, basically what it does is trick your eye so you don't realize that anything else is crooked. I'm going to grab my absolute favorite sparkly gold sequins from the Brutus Monroe store, and I'm going to use a little bit of liquid adhesive to put them down. And I was thinking about putting them on top of the flowers as well, and then I decided that I really didn't like that, so I just pushed that glue off of there, and that is going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that doing this kind of thing of stamping on top of some mixed media inspires you to do the same, and I will see you guys again real soon for another video.